The Working Artist Project is brought to you by Second Line Arts Collective. Learn how you can support at secondlinearts.org.
We're creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time, captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Working Artist Project. My name is Darrian Douglas, and my fearless co-host just arrived.
Good evening. I am the fearless co-host who has just arrived. How are you?
What's up, man?
Oh, I'm just calming down after a very adventurous and exciting day in the music business.
Geez. Oh man, that sounds very stressful but fun. It's
Yeah.
fun, Greg. Remember, music is fun.
I tell myself that all the time, and it's a challenge too, which is really nice.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, look, man, no matter what happened to you today, we're going to have a good time tonight.
Man, I'm
We got a
grateful to be
very,
here.
very special guest, Mariel Bildsten. She plays the best instrument because it's one of the most difficult instruments, the trombone. And yeah, man, we're going to have a good time talking to her about her new record entitled Backbone.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So without further
Mariel,
ado.
what's up? How are you?
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. Like, how are you guys?
You know
good.
what? We need a drum roll. That's like we need a drum roll sound effect. So next
Damn it,
time
I don't
it's
have one
Or like
queued
a-
up.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
I do have this.
Whoa.
That's what
That's
we
actually
need.
next level.
Oh, I have another one. All right, that's all the sound effects I got today.
Oh
But yeah,
man,
Mario,
that's
man,
good.
welcome. Well, sorry for the jokes, y'all. We get
No, we need more. Thank you so much for having me.
absolutely, man.
How are you doing? Are you up in New York these days?
I am generally the whole pandemic. I've been in New York, but I escaped last week, and I'm doing a little bit of a family trip to see my best friend in North Carolina, and then now I'm in Oregon for a week, and then I'm taking a bit of a road trip to see my new niece in San Francisco, and then my parents in Santa Barbara. So I'm doing like a little
Wow.
crazy thing, but I've been in New York the whole pandemic until now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on your
course.
coast to coast vacation.
I know. It's been crazy. I'm in Oregon right now at my little sister's house, and she has this. She's in a photography class at the University of Oregon where they take photos out of like a cardboard box, like a pinhole camera. So we've been playing with that today. It's very old school. It's really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
what's up. That's what's up. Look, man, let's get right into it. I want to get to this record, man. And I'm curious about the inspiration for it and what the meaning actually mean. Backbone. What does that even mean?
Okay. Well, I came up with the title much later. I had to come up with one, and I was like, I had no idea what I was going to call this record. I had just sort of put together these songs and put together the band and made the music, and all of the like branding stuff I just was avoiding hardcore. And so then the day I needed to come up with a title, it sort of happened.
Okay.
I was like on a bit of a the thesaurus.com, like what are good words? We're all there sometimes. And
Good words for what? What were the other options?
well, I didn't know what I wanted to call it, and I didn't want anything that was too flowery or like emergence or like anything like that. It just didn't.
Cerebral jazz. Part
Right.
One.
It just didn't really feel right for what the band was doing and what I'm about. And yeah, I mean, the meaning of backbone is just really knowing who you are and being strong in that throughout life, and having a good moral compass and all of those things that I hope to be and get better at all the time. And it also, I think it's really about being yourself. And I think what I'm really proud of on this record is that everyone who is playing, all the musicians, really were able to be themselves and really shine in who they are. And so it just felt like a good sort of summation, and it's also kind of badass, and I liked that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, recording music, especially now, is kind of it's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And you know, can we? I'm curious if we can kind of talk about that process and what that's like to get in. First of all, to get the money together, because people may not know this. You need at least, what would you say, $10,000?
$10,000 is
Yeah,
like baseline price. Yeah.
yeah. It's a good thing that jazz musicians are independently wealthy.
We are so wealthy.
Wow,
We have so much money.
we're about to have a comedy show on our hands here.
So,
Yeah, yeah, we all have a ton of money. It's crazy.
what's that like, man? How do you even get the money together, and how do you start that process?
Yeah, so money wise, I had been saving for a long time, just from gigging in New York and teaching gigs. I mean, sort of all the summation of all the work that I'd been doing. I live really inexpensively, so I was able to just put as much money away as possible. And I had been doing that for a while. And then I sort of was looking at it and was like, okay, I think I can do this. The money was all there, so I think it was just saving and really not spending on anything. I mean, that's a whole conversation in of itself of like how to manage finances. But pretty much I just didn't touch a lot of it. I just sort of like put it away, put it away, put it away. Um, not for like an album, but just for life.
Oh wow.
Just so that whatever, I can do what I want. And yeah. um, and so because I had an experience right when I moved to New York where I was like, I'm in New York. I'm so cool. And I like, spent all my money in 3 months when I was 18.
That
And
sounds about
so,
right.
right? I'm like, and I didn't even buy it. I mean, I didn't even buy anything meaningful.
Right.
But I just balled out for 3 months and, you know, and I spent like all my life savings. Um, and then since then I was like, okay, I can't do this again. And so I just really just chipped away and just saved. So yeah, so I just had this money sitting there, I guess. I mean, I think, you know, it is really expensive. We can get into, I mean, I don't know who's listening to this where, you know, what's helpful to know of how to put things together. But, you know, it was really important to me that I could pay the band fairly, that I could pay the engineers and the mixing people and the mastering people and like everybody along the way. I really didn't want to ask for favors, because I wanted to feel really proud that we got here and everyone got the money they needed, you know, to do really excellent work. So I
And
didn't, you know,
there's some
cheap out.
amazing musicians on the record too.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were, you know, I think we, you know, some people needed more money than others, and I was really happy to have that conversation and be like, okay, what does everyone need, to be able to show up and feel happy about it and really commit, and I think that it was an important part of my process was just to make sure that everyone felt really good about, okay, I'm not, you know, getting less than I'm worth.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that was the money side of things. And then from the concept side of things, I mean, this is my first album, and I really just wanted to present the music that I had been working on, the arrangements that I'd been working on, the things that I was inspired by, just from being in New York and being on the scene and experiencing music and just learning a lot, you know? So I think when I think of albums, it sort of helped me to think of it as a snapshot in time rather than this is who I am forever, because that's just a lot of pressure. So that was, yeah, we can get more specific into all those things, but that's like an overview of kind of how I was thinking about it.
Yeah, it's really crazy because I mean, from this point, there's like so many different discussions and topics we can really dig into, from like the money,
Yeah.
like you were saying, or concept and things like that. But maybe,
Totally.
maybe having this be your first record, what is the one thing that surprised you most about the process that maybe you didn't expect going into it, but something you
Yeah.
had to deal with along the way?
My most favorite part was getting the music together with the band and playing the music on the record date. That was the best experience. That was my favorite part, and I want to do that every day. And then everything after sucked. Like it's really hard, and I didn't realize how much help I was going to need. I was like, yeah, I can do this, like no problem, and it's just really hard, and you have to be really detail oriented. the paperwork, the licensing, like all the legal stuff. I mean, what a pain in the ass. So that was, you know, making the music was the part I just realized, wow, I really can't do this alone. I'm not going to have the patience to do it alone, right? Because you could self-release and spend the time to look at everything and like be really careful. But I realized quickly that I just wasn't going to do that. So that made it pretty easy to decide, okay, I'm going to go through a label so that I have someone to talk me through all this because I am wildly unprepared. um, so yeah, I think making the music was the best part, and then everything after was the worst part.
Yeah. You know, that's funny because we're musicians, you know, like that's the
Right.
part that we
Right.
want to do. We want to write the music. We want to get together with the cast
Yeah.
and rehearse. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to do anything else in
No,
life.
we really don't. It sucks. It's like, and I'm really bad at it. And I thought I was pretty, like, I've always thought of myself as a pretty on top of it person. And this experience has shown me, no, in fact, I am not. And so just ask, you know, realizing, okay, you are going to have to ask for help. You are going to have people sort of create people to answer to, because this thing took me almost 2 years to release because I didn't have anyone to answer to. It was just me. And as we all know, if you're answering to yourself, sometimes things take a bit longer. So it really helped to have set up some structures with the label, with people to sort of check in with me, even like my boyfriend checking in on me, like, hey, what's going on? You know, just to kind of keep things moving and have some accountability in place, because otherwise I'm just off in la la land, you know?
Right. Absolutely. You know what? This might
Yeah.
be a good place here for us to take a pause for the cause, and maybe we'll let the people hear the music
Sounds great.
about that. All right, let's do it. Yo, that was bad. That was so killing. Wow. Hey,
Yeah.
can I be in your band? You know,
Thank you. Yes, please. Are you kidding me? I would love that.
Yeah, that was
Wow, man.
totally amazing. That was yes, you're swinging, swinging, swinging.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you guys like it.
Oh man.
Really. It
I
means the world to me.
oh man. I know I said we only gonna listen to one, but we definitely gonna listen to another one before because
Okay,
that's
good.
great.
Yeah, let's do it.
You know, you have to know something about Darrian and I. Darrian and I have a special place in our hearts for trombone players because we met playing in Delphio Marcellus's band.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
so
So this
no,
this
it's
is the
a
thing. All
trombone's a
trombone
special
players like
instrument.
me. I don't know why. You know, all trombone
Hmm.
players. They just it's just a thing, man. I don't know.
Ah. Yeah,
No,
I
go ahead.
yeah, it's a beautiful, I don't know what my theory is about that. I wonder if there's a thing with singers and drummers as well, because I think trombone is the most vocal instrument out there, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, I mean,
so
and I think singers like piano players,
yeah,
but
that's true. Yeah.
yeah.
That's like a very special. That's like, one of these partnerships, but
One thing I have noticed about trombone players and bass players are like this too, is that trombone players write the most accessible music.
Hmm.
You know what I
mm,
mean? Like when a trombone player writes a song, you
yeah.
always like immediately the first time I listen to this, I let my baby listen to it. We listen to it like 3 times each song. I was like, yo,
Mm,
this is touching me. You know, like
mm,
every song felt emotional. Was that
mm.
on purpose? Does it have a story?
Yeah, all the songs have a bit of a story. I mean, I think trombone players play the most accessible music because it's the hardest instrument to play. So it's like, what can we actually pull off? Um, and actually have it be beautiful. I mean, I think my approach with picking songs and putting the music together was, I just like really beautiful music and really beautiful melodies. I really am not interested in like athleticism or anything showy. It's just sort of like, all right, cool, but not really for me. It's not how I want to express myself. So I've sort of thought of myself as like, okay, if I was a vocalist in a band, I happen to have this thing in front of my face, but if I was a vocalist, what would I want to do? What are the songs I would like to play? And so that sort of, you know, guides my decision making. The other thing that guides my decision making is really digging and getting into the history of the songs, understanding, just like listening to as many versions as possible. So like if I really, all of these songs on the record are things that I heard somewhere. There's no originals on this. It's all standards or covers, if you will. Um, but all of them I heard, and every single of these songs that I heard, I had this moment of like, I can't believe this is so beautiful, right? From just a version that I heard or someone playing it live. It would just sort of struck me in a certain way. And I have a different experience and a different story for each of those songs of when I first heard it and was like, what is this? Right. And then from there, I just get sort of obsessed and listen to as many versions as I can from every musician I can possibly get my hands on. And then I can sort of start to put a story together of, okay, what's the song about? What are the lyrics about, if there's lyrics? And how can I sort of mosh something together that feels like my sort of a collage of my influences and the versions that I've loved. And then that sort of ends up turning into this other, it sort of takes a life of its own.
Mm.
And then it's just my job to play well and for the band's job to play well. And so I guess that's been my approach, is like getting obsessed with a song and then just sort of like digging through the history of it.
Well, you did that. You did all of that.
Thanks. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, that's really beautiful, and I really appreciate that. Like just in hearing the track, you can hear like again like the I mean, I don't like using the word history and things like that, but again, you can hear the timetable how we got to this point. You know,
Yeah,
it's not you came here through studying, and it makes sense that this is why you're playing what you're playing. How do
totally.
you convey those ideas to other musicians in the band, and how do you select band members and bandmates to help perpetuate your idea?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I mean, so I have written arrangements for everything that just sort of provide a framework. So there's an intro, maybe a melody, maybe an outro, right? And then if there's harmony, all of that's written out. Um, except for in some cases where I really am unprepared. But like, hopefully, if I'm doing my job as a band leader, it's all sort of set up in a way that is somewhat clear. I think there's a lot of sort of conversation that has to happen, but just providing a framework for then people and musicians that I love, and I love the way they play and I love the way they approach music, they can sort of fly free within this framework. And that's sort of how I think about band leading. It's like, okay, I love this person's playing. I want to be playing with them. I want to experience their energy and I want us to play with each other. But I have this certain vision of what we can do. So how can I like box that up nicely? And so that's been my approach. And, you know, so on this record, there's Stacy Dillard playing tenor and soprano saxophone. He's just one of my very favorite people in the world and just such a playful player. I mean, he just brings this this like exuberance to everything, and playing with him, I feel like I play more playfully and more like myself when I'm around him, because he's just sort of like busts the door open. And so, and he just brings such a maturity yet like childlike sort of sense of, he's very funny, like he has a very great sense of humor on the horn, and I really appreciate that about him. So it's like, okay, that's a no-brainer. With Ben Wolf, he's one of my, I mean, all of these people are my favorite people to play with, but he's such an incredible bass player and just is like, think of a father figure in terms of just like holding things down. I feel like that's the sort of energy I wanted. He and Evan Sherman, who's playing drums, they've played a lot together. So I really wanted to make sure that the drum and bass lockup was like super unfuckwithable, you know? And right.
That is an
and
official
then
music term, just for the record.
unfuckwithable. That's
Write that down. Write that down.
And then Sean Mason was sort of a, at the time I hadn't played with him a ton, but I had, I mean, he's such a melodic player and again, such a, how do I mean, yeah, I mean, his own music is really incredible. I really encourage everyone to check it out, his trio. But he just brings this real sensitivity, and I always feel like I can have a real conversation with him musically in addition to like humanly. But yeah, so I guess it was just sort of, how can I bring these people together? And there's a lot of mutual respect there. I wanted a couple of people in the band that were older than me. I wanted two people that were older than me, so they didn't feel like the only old people in the room, for lack of like a better way of saying that. Like, you know, it was important to me that Ben and Stacy had each other to like be experienced with.
So you're really singling out the old people here.
Yeah, and it feels wrong, but it is how I was thinking about it, because I was like, I don't want there to be like the token old person or something, or like I wanted them to be able to sort of vibe off of each other in being really experienced jazz musicians that have been around for a long time, whereas like it was my first record, right? Evan was co-producing it with me. And then Sean's really young as well. So it was like, I really wanted this sort of, you know, no one's that old. Like, you know, Ben is so much more experienced than me. He's been playing forever. I mean, I'm only 26. So it's like, you know, to have a couple of people in the room who really are experienced and know what they're doing and know how these things are supposed to go was a valuable experience for me. And it kept me a little bit more on top of it, and a little bit more organized and sort of direct with what I wanted, because I had to make sure that they felt good, you know, and that this wasn't some, you know, college production.
Yeah. That's a good, that point of, you know, people don't maybe not realize that jazz is multi-generational.
Yeah.
And so depending on your age, you have your own language, you know, you played a certain kind of music with a certain group of people. And so in New York, especially, it's kind of divided, you know, like the people in the 40s, people in the 30s, people in the 20s, they kind of play together. But when I lived in New Orleans, there weren't enough people for it to be like that. So you'd be on stage with somebody that's 75 while you're 22. Right. And I think that interchange in that intersection really, really helps the music, because a 50-year-old dude can definitely tell you that you're sad, especially when you're growing, or at any point in your career.
At any point,
come on, we got to play better than that.
Yeah.
And that's the value of having like that step ladder. Like, you know what, we can play
Absolutely.
that better, or we can. Why don't you do this? The experience that you would get from
Absolutely.
a person like that.
And he, and Ben and Stacy shaped things. Absolutely, right? They're like, "Well, how about this?" Or like, "I don't love how we're doing that. Let's try this." And, I really wanted it to be, I set up the foundation of how everything was kind of going to go, but then there was a lot of room for in the moment being like, "Well, this isn't the best option. How about this option?" And I would have never thought of that.
Mm.
And, not just comes from my inexperience because I'm really young, I'm figuring this thing out too. So that was a really, really positive experience for me, and something that I value a lot about the record is that it does have that multi-generational thing, not in any crazy way, but there are people that are sort of older statesmen of jazz on
Absolutely,
that record. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
I,
Um,
re-
Go
sorry, I
ahead,
have to
Ray.
chime in here. I really like one of the comments that you meant too about like making people feel comfortable in the session.
Yeah.
Being in a session is like a crazy vulnerable experience that
Yeah.
can just
Scary as shit.
it can be great. It can like just go downhill real fast. Especially as making a first record or second or third or fourth or fifth record, it can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate what you said about like you're building a team of people that can contribute to the record, that can bring something to the table, that can work well together, and
Yep.
it's not only about musically how you're playing. There's a social dynamic to it that I appreciate that you're aware of, and building
Totally.
your team based on that, as
Yep.
opposed to just getting the baddest cats who talk shit all day.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And if they are the baddest shit that talk shit all day, maybe get another one. So at least they have someone else to talk to. I mean, it's like, like how do you put together a dinner party, right? Like you can think about it a million different ways. How do you put together a basketball team? How do you, organize this thing where people have, buddies and people that they can really level with. And then also as a leader, how do you create a space where everyone feels comfortable to bring their strengths to the table, where there's enough room for them to explore their, the music and themselves and each other, and have, allow the space for that, and to not be, be strict where not strict, but like be specific when it needs to be specific. And then other than that, just sort of like let everyone
Yeah.
do their thing. And so I think I, and I think a lot of natural, just like beautiful moments on the record happen because people were just comfortable to interact with each other. And that's what this thing is about. It's like we're not putting on a Broadway show, we're making jazz. So it's like, let's, allow for a little bit of room there.
Through the process of recording and creating, what would you say was the most important lesson that you learned?
That's a good question. Um, I think so. One of them, the biggest feedback that I've got was that the record has too few songs. So there's only 6 songs, which is like
Oh,
not good. So there should be more. Um, I I learned a lot. I think just having there's a laundry list of things of like lessons that I've learned. It's my first record, and so I made a ton of mistakes. Something that I think was huge was like, how was the thing recorded? So we recorded at Sear Sound, which is an amazing studio in New York, but we were not in the same room. Like we were in the same room, but we were like blocked off. So like Stacy and I were in a booth together. Sean was in the main room with the grand piano. Ben was sort of blocked off, and then Evan was really in his own room. So because of that, we had to do a lot of, it's very much like a, older jazz record in the feeling of it, where we're not doing production, like we're not doing any crazy stuff to it. And so I realized, man, I really wish we would have recorded in the same room. It would have saved a lot of mixing hassle. So like that was something sort of specific that I felt like we were trying to create this room feeling in the mixing process. And if we had just done it right out the gate like that, we would have saved a lot of time and energy for sure. So we did the best we could to like create that feeling, but it did take more effort than it probably should have if I had known what, what that would have taken. So but then on the flip side of that, we were able to do some editing and like change things around, and with comping, and like really create something that that was quite specific after the fact. So that was cool, and we wouldn't have been able to do that. So, pros and cons of each, but I think next time I'll definitely have everyone in the same room. What else? Yeah, I think that was a big one. I feel really I feel really happy with everyone. I wouldn't have hired anybody different. And yeah, everyone played so beautifully. So, yeah.
And again, like what you were saying too, it's like that the record is just a snapshot of time. That's the way you recorded that day. This is the way I sound today, and next time, I learned some lessons on this record, and the next one will have, it'll have a different approach. And
yeah,
like that.
Totally.
So, but like now that the record is out completely, so how about this? When you finish the record, what happens? Like, how do you, like, you got the record in the can, it's mixed, mastered, you're happy with the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Then what do you do? ...
Great question. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm taking notes here. If anyone can help, please let me know.
Yeah, I mean, people should comment because I'm figuring this out as well. So, okay, so the product is made. Okay, great. Now there's a bunch of stuff that the label does in terms of distribution and printing CDs. Who even has a CD player anymore? I don't know why I'm selling CDs. It's so weird. But like all of that, getting the cover, like all the artwork together, that was already done, with all that. So at this point, it's like selling stuff. So like figuring out, okay, can my website sell things? We found out no. So we had to like scramble so that, we have like an online store. How do we ship things? Do I need a PO box? Right? Like all of this like stuff that I just would have never thought of. And then usually you would have a release show or like a tour or something, but that's not happening these days. So it's just been, a lot of online, like, yay.
Like this right now.
Right, exactly, which is great. So it's been fun to talk about it, but I wish we could, as a band celebrate it, but, we have limited options right now.
Can I ask you, like again, like at some point you decided to go with a record label. So what did the record label bring to the table that helped you put put the record out versus doing it by yourself?
Yeah, so they gave me a deadline, which was great.
Nice.
That was huge for me. And yeah, so this label, it's called Outside in Music. It's run by Nick Finzer, who's also a trombonist. And he's awesome. He's super on top of it, and his team is amazing. They're just like very organized, very like really step by step, and really sort of specific of like, okay, these are all the things we need. So what they brought to the table for me was a level of organization and thoroughness in understanding how does distribution work, how does releasing something work, how does licensing work, all of the like legal stuff, and all like the behind the scenes. How do we get this music into the world? That's what they do. So they're great, and they also only take 20% of sales. So I have to pay for everything up front, which I would have had to do if I self-released anyway. And then they only take 20% of the sales. So fine, right? Like that was like an easy decision for me because it doesn't cost me much. Some labels, they could take 40%, 50%. Again, I don't know how many CDs we're going to sell. So, that number might be quite small, but either way, it's not much more out of my pocket. To have sort of people to answer to and people that are just going to do a better job than I would do on my own. And then they also connected me with Lydia Liebman, who's an amazing publicist. And so that's how I'm getting interviews with different magazines, and, Downbeat interviewed me, and like she's getting it out to radio and like all of this stuff. So again, I couldn't do that on my own. I don't know any of these people. So I'm just like, hi, I play trombone. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, here you are into the world. So yeah, I don't have the patience. I do have the time, but I don't have the patience to do all of that stuff. So it's just nice to have people to answer to in that way.
Was the publicist part of your $10,000 budget, or was that above that?
Yes, it
Okay,
is. Yes.
cool.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want me to talk about money?
I don't.
Do people want to know?
Yeah, that's on Darrian. No. I
Yeah,
don't want to
whatever
ask
you
you
feel
all the.
comfortable with,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I use Lydia. We use
Yeah.
Lydia with our last project, and she's great. So if y'all out there, you need a publicist, hit Lydia Liebman up.
Hit Lydia up. She's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
that's, I
so
guess
she's so
I feel
good.
like that's such an important part of the puzzle too, because I guess like kind of what we're discussing is like musicians, we spend so much time focusing on the music, and then you make a $10,000 record, and then you finish this record, you spend $5,000 mixing, mastering it,
Yeah.
$5,000 getting in the studio, and then it's like you have to sell it, and that costs money also to get
Totally.
that type of advertisement. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
And you don't want it to just fall flat, I mean, it's like you work really hard to make the music really beautiful, and you want as many people to hear it as possible, and you want it to sort of like, you want something to happen. You worked really hard. So, to just make it feel like it was all, of course it's all worth something, but just to have it feel like it'll sort of get out there as much as possible, I think it is really worthwhile to hire a publicist, especially if you've never done it before. They know everybody in different clubs and different publications and radio. I mean, they're just like so hooked up with all of that. And to be that hooked up as an artist, that would be a whole different like job requirement,
It takes years. Yeah, it's years of building contacts
Right.
and things like that.
Right. Yeah. So she's awesome.
Look, before we're getting close here, but I want to play this other song.
Do it.
Rosita. Is that how you Rosita,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Can I tell the story of this song?
Please tell us the story.
Okay. This one I think is my favorite song.
Do you have saxophone envy? I love that. No, I love this tune so much.
So this song, I first heard this one. So I was talking about how like each song, there's this like, oh my God, what is this moment? So for this one, this was on a record of Coleman Hawkins and Ben Webster playing this. And like, it's so fuzzy and warm and feels like you're getting hugged. And any song that makes me feel like that, I'm like, this is my favorite thing ever, right? That's just how I want all music to sound. It's just like a big bear hug from my mom, So I was just so excited about this melody, and then I found out. So it was written by this guy named Paul DuPont for a silent film called Rosita, and this was like the song that accompanied it, and so I just got into the silent film. Is really like there's this lady who's it's like in some made up village in Spain, and she's writing protest songs and performing them in her village against the king. Then the king is like sort of in love with her, but also mad at her because she's teasing him, and like goes to chastise her, and then ends up falling in love. And it's like this whole love triangle thing, and like people die, and it's just like it's a very like epic story. And this song is the thing that that was accompanied by this film. And so it was just sort of fun for me to imagine that and to sort of run with that narrative a little bit. So you'll hear in the intro there's sort of this fanfare moment, and it sort of leads into the song. So just listen for that. I think it's fun.
All right, y'all, here we go. Rosita. Wow. You did it again. You did it again. I'm jealous.
That's super fitting.
Fuzzy? Thank you.
Man, wow. You know, you and Stacy, that combination is simply magical to me. And I loved both solos tremendously, man. Wow. You guys really just, the vibe is so strong, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we had fun. We were in that little booth together, like sort of winking at each other, like, all right, let's do this thing. Thank you. Yeah, he's so fun to play with. He just, yeah, he really lit up this record. I'm so grateful he's on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like, that's one of my, I love that tune so much. And it's one of, every time it randomly pops up on my Spotify when I just have it going, I get so excited and I love it. And I have to compliment you all. And again, like, I feel like I feel the same sense of satisfaction listening to your rendition of the tune as I do hearing the original. And I'm probably going to listen to yours a lot more because I hate it when they start swinging on the song.
I know. I wish they wouldn't.
Let's talk about that for a second. Y'all did
that
it right.
that is a huge compliment. Thank you. But I know. I wish they wouldn't either. I mean, yeah. I'm just like, let's just stay in this like sexy zone. Why leave
Yeah.
it? Let's just chill here for a sec. So thank you. That's a huge compliment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, y'all did
Yeah,
a great
I-
job on that.
Yeah.
While we got the people right here, fresh off the beautiful sounds of Mariel, how can they buy this, man? They need to know right now.
Okay.
How can they buy
So, couple different ways. You can go to Bandcamp if you want to like stream it and have it be the best quality. You can do that. You can buy a CD from me by either like messaging me or going to my website or DMing me or like however you want to get in touch. I'll send it to you. Amazon has it. All the streaming platforms have it. So like Apple, Spotify, all the things. Like anywhere you can find music, it's there. And if you want me to get the most money, you can buy the CD from me or buy it on Bandcamp. So however you want to do that is great.
That's
Okay,
the way to
great.
go.
So yeah, we want Mariel to get all the money. So this is what we need y'all to do. We need y'all to
Help
get
chip into my $10,000.
Exactly. We gotta. Hey, look, ROI, return on investment. Help us
Yes, help me.
out. Help her out. Go out there and buy the record directly from her at Bandcamp, and you can just search her name. Bam.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and the name of
It's
the record is Backbone.
Backbone.
There.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
My little mug on there.
Can I since just maybe before we call it, can I ask you
Yeah.
what would make this record a success in your opinion?
Well, yeah. I think it already. I've had some friends reach out to me who are friends that are not jazz fans necessarily, like friends from kindergarten, who live in San Francisco and only listen to like SZA. And they've reached out to me and say, "Hey, I love your music, and I really enjoyed listening to it, and it's so beautiful." To me, that's all I want. Like I just I didn't make this record for jazz critics or for fellow jazz musicians. If they like it, that's wonderful. Like that's a huge compliment. But I was hoping that this music is for everybody. And I think it has the potential. I mean, I just think it's good. And so I think people enjoy good music. And so I think it is really accessible and sort of likable by anyone. So to have people reach out to me that aren't jazz fans specifically, that's to me, that's already a success. And yeah, that's it. And then the fact that I could support the people around me and make music with them, I mean, I don't think you can really ask for anything better than that. So I don't really care at this point. I mean, it's already out there, and I'm really happy that it's done. It took a long time to get out there, and so I'm just sort of excited and emboldened by this process because it's like, okay, cool. What I do doesn't suck. Now let me make more, because I think it's really easy to feel like this kind of stuff, like who knows if this is good, and I think it's okay, but like does everyone else like it, and is this good enough? And I mean, the insecurities just run rampant, so to just have like a little bit of good feedback is like, okay, cool, like I guess I can believe in this thing. Like I'll keep going. And, you know, it means, you know, I don't feel like people talk about that enough, of like the fact that making music is really vulnerable and really scary and really hard. And just to have that little bit of encouragement and a little bit of feedback, I think really means a lot. And I think that kind of keeps people going. So I'm just excited to like make the next thing, because now I'm like, okay, cool. Like we've got something going here.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Everyone's just like, yeah, nice, yeah, cool, you sound good. It's like, what? You know, so it's really cool to just have that moment of like, okay, cool. Like I'm onto something here, and now I can just keep learning and keep going and, you know, keep getting better, because that's all we can do, you know?
Absolutely. I like that answer.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great
it's, you
answer.
know, it's sometimes people in when you're trying to accomplish anything, people don't mention the self-doubt, because before you can accomplish anything great, you have to first conquer yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that was beautifully stated there, you know. So we all out here
We
together.
all struggle through it, you know, and I
Absolutely.
think it's easy to say, oh yeah, it's no problem, you know, just pull it out of my ass. It's like, it's just, it's not true. And I think, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things about playing music, is that you just have to sort of keep going and kind of believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing, and just think that, okay, maybe this is good enough, and, or it'll never be good enough, but at least it's something, and we can just keep going. But, yeah, we need the feedback. I think that's just been my, and also to understand how much I need it sort of helps me make sure that I give it to other people as well. Like, hey, not just, wow, nice job, but like, wow, that was really beautiful, and I really liked when you did that. And like, let's be a little more specific in our feedback, because I think that can go a really far way, rather than like, nice solo.
Hey, I just said that.
Right? Like, yeah, man. Like, what?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, what? What are you
Listen.
saying?
Yeah, Mario, listen, thank you so much for coming on the Working Artist Project.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Absolutely. My name is Darrian Douglas.
My name is Gregory Agid. Congratulations, Mariel. It's quite an accomplishment, and
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a treat to talk with you guys. This was really fun and really funny. It was a blast. Have me anytime. We'll just
Okay.
make jokes.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. And yeah, so we'll catch y'all later.